Welcome back to Switched to Linux. What we're going to do on this tutorial is show you how to create a live key from the distro that you have downloaded and hopefully validated. To do this, we need a USB drive that is at least 4 gigabytes, and you need to use a program that will allow you to write ISO images. So I use the UNetBootin, which is available on Mac, on Windows, and on Linux. Although for Linux, I usually do all my keys in Linux Mint because there's a very nice built-in USB key writer in there. So what I do on the Windows and on the Mac is I'll use this program here. I'm going to show you how to use it. The first thing we want to do is you want to make sure that your USB drive is formatted in the FAT32 format. It's the only format that is going to be seen by UNetBootin. So I'm going to plug that in, and it's called USB drive over here. So you can see where it is right here. Okay. And the drive has to be in here before UNetBoot starts. So what we're going to do is first you need to download the program. And I thought I had it queued up, but apparently I did not. So here's the program. So you're going to come over here. You're going to download it for your platform, either Windows or Mac. And I'm not going to do a video on both the Windows and the Mac because the process is essentially the same. Slightly easier on the Windows system because it sees the USB drives a little easier and actually identifies them a little easier. I'll show you what I mean by that. For Linux, I would just use any USB writer available on the distro, which is going to give us a better option. On this screen here, it does walk you through all of the steps that it takes to install. So you can read through all of that, and I'll make sure that this link is in the system. So I've downloaded it. It's about a 9 megabyte file. You do not actually have to install the program. You can run it from where it is. Now, depending on your preferences in your Mac, it may or may not run immediately because of the security and privacy settings. So I have my Mac here set up to run anything from the App Store and identified developers. It turns out that the developer of this is unidentified, and so if you have your settings like I do, it's going to block you from running it. Now, you do not have to come down and change this to anywhere. Instead, you try to run it, and then you load up this security and privacy tab, and over here in this blank space to the right, it will give you an indication that this program tried to run. Would you like to run it anyway? So I hit yes. And that will allow me to run this program now. So we're going to open it up. And then here it gives us this. It is downloaded from the internet. Are you sure you want to open it? I'm going to say yes, open. It is going to prompt us for a password. So I'm going to enter my password there. And then now we have the program available. Now, what you can do on the program is you can select the distribution directly from the list. I have noticed that many of the distros that I'm looking at here, they seem to be a little out of date. So if I look at Ubuntu, I saw it in here somewhere. There it is. Ubuntu is the correct version. They do have the 12, they have the 14, they have the 15, they have the 16, they even have the daily. So Ubuntu is okay. Linux Mint is my preferred Windows-like distribution. The latest one that they have is the 17.2. Now 17.3 is the stable for 17, and 18 is out, and it's actually very stable as well. Fedora is the other one we've looked at in our tutorials. You'll see this only goes up to 22, and 24 is out and available. So I don't generally use this. The second reason I don't is I don't know if this verifies on the background or not. It might not. I don't know what it's actually putting on here if you use this system. I don't know what notes it's coming from. I'm sure somebody has information about where and how that's coming from. I don't bother because I've downloaded my distro. I've already validated my distro. It's right here on my desktop. So what I'm going to do is select the disk image. Make sure that this drop down says ISO. And then over here, hitting my 3 buttons will allow me to open up my File Explorer. I'm going to find my Fedora distro, hit open. So now this is my distro, that's my target. So under USB drive, we want to hit the drive there. And then it detects this. Now this is what I said where it's a little easier on Windows. On the Mac, since the Mac does run a Unix type system, it tells you that the drive is dev disk 1s1. I'd kind of like to know a little bit more about that. So I happen to know that that is the correct disk. If you and generally anything you plug into your Mac, if it's like I said, this will only read that FAT32 formatted drive. So if you have a USB stick that is formatted anything other than FAT32, it won't even show up in the list. In fact, I had to re-record this video because I didn't have the USB drive right. I had to go into the disk utilities and do that. Let me walk through how to do that real quick. So if you just start up your launcher here, which I can do with the button or I can do with pushing the F4 on the Mac, and I can type in my disk utility. This will actually show me a listing of the disks on the system. Thinking I might have hit the wrong button there. There we go. Now we did it. So you just highlight the disk, hit the erase button over here, and then under this format, you want to make sure, like if all you use is Macs, then you can use these guys here. Are just fine. The FAT or the exFAT are also available. This does not have the default Linux file system as the ext4, which is a very nice file system. But come over here, hit this MS-DOS FAT. That's a FAT32. And then just give it a name and hit the erase button, and that will format your disk. So I've already done that. I've placed the disk in. So this is that disk location. So now we have our distro ready to go. We're going to hit OK. It's going to copy the files, and then I will cut back into the video when this is done. You can see that it's complete. The whole process took about, I'd say about 10 minutes, I think. You can probably check the system time up there to see about how long it took. So we're going to hit exit, and I'm going to eject the USB drive, and I can now eject UNetbootin. And actually, I'm pretty sure I won't use it again on this computer, because if I have the burning urge to write distros, which is probably about weekly, I actually do it on the Linux computer. So the next thing we're going to do is I'll add on to this video how to do the same thing on a Linux computer using the default Linux Mint USB writer. For this part of the tutorial, I'm going to walk through the simple steps to use Linux Mint to write a USB key. You will find that it is a lot easier than it was on the UNetbootin. We don't have to worry about formatting the USB drive correctly, and we don't have to worry about writing the disk in the wrong spot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my disk. Now this is actually a disk I'm not going to want to erase, so I don't want to, I'm just not going to actually do it. But what we will do is once you plug the disk in, that will be available. I'm going to come over to the menu here and just type in Writer. You'll see the two items that pop up to the top, LibreOffice Writer, that's obviously not it, and the USB Image Writer. This is a default app on the, or a package, default package on Linux Mint. So we have to decide what image we are going to write. I'm going to go to my desktop. We have our Linux Mint 18 over here. So we're going to grab that from this list here. We're writing this image, and we are writing it to this USB drive. You'll see here that unlike the UNetbootin, where it just gave us the mount position, and on a Mac, I'm sure you can find that mount position somewhere in the user interface. I'm not exactly sure where it is. But it will give us the drive mount location for those that know exactly what it is, and it will also give us a little bit more descriptive about it, which is nice and handy. So you go ahead and hit the right button now, and that's all it takes. It's actually a little bit faster on this one. I bet this one here only takes about 4 or 5 minutes to write the image, and then our image is ready to go. So this has been Tom, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.